What's up, guys? I'm here with Eric, who is doing, you said 15,000 a month in sales?
Anywhere between 10 to 15.
10 to 15K in sales. I was looking at our Facebook messages. Me and you were messaging back in 2018. So you're an OG in the space. You're doing thrifting, library sales, estate sales, and welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast.
Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Hear the stories of Amazon sellers crushing it in the game and keep up with the latest strategies that are working. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you truly try and work really hard, you will make a ridiculous amount of money selling on Amazon.
All right, so let's take a step back. Tell us when you got started. Did you start in 2018 or did you start like earlier than that?
It's like 2014, 2015, and I was just kind of dabbling here and there.
You're an OG. You know more than I do. So
yeah,
tell us how'd you get started? Like, did you follow someone on social media or did you just start doing this on your own?
I did some Googling or something, and I had known that people were making money on eBay for a while. Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe I can make some money doing that. And the idea of selling books was appealing to me, just because I knew that people gave away books and for free, and you can find them at thrift stores for pretty cheap. Yeah. And I just like books. So when I started, it was a lot easier, just because there was less competition. Fees on Amazon were a lot less. We're a lot more
doing FBA. You doing merchant fulfilled back then?
No, I started doing FBA, and
back in 2015.
Yeah, around that time.
Nice.
I didn't really dive into it until probably more like 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you still sell textbooks?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got the ungated account.
Yeah, I got grandfathered in. I never got really hit with the restrictions. So
yeah,
when I go on the social medias and I hear about people dealing with that stuff, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with restrictedinventory.com.
Grind hard, well done, sir, and welcome to the freaking Well Show.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great service. I think it's great that you're doing that.
Yeah, because I actually probably sold my first item 2016 or 2017 when I was in college. So Amazon trusted me to sell textbooks, and that's why I started that business. And long story short, all my accounts got shut down, got in trouble for selling counterfeits on accident. And now we partner with someone who has a textbook approved account by the brand and by Amazon. So everyone sends us their books. We check for counterfeits, we sell them, and we never take more than a $20 cut. So if you send us a $100 profit book, we keep $20, you keep 80, and that's that. So, but you don't have to worry about that because you can sell textbooks. That's good.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's the odd outlier title that might make sense to use your service that I wouldn't be able to sell for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm okay. So.
Yeah. So walk us through your first 10,000 in sales. How'd you find the items? You thrifting, libraries? You go into library sales?
Yeah. So I go to library sales on the weekend. Sometimes they start as early as Thursday for
nice.
preview sales and stuff like that around here. I live in the Bay Area, so there's just library sales happening basically every week.
How do you find them?
Bookseller Finder, but the best places would be just to go to the library websites and just look all the library websites and just look at their events calendars, because then you'll find library sales that are advertised on Bookseller Finder, which you want to prioritize. But
so Bookseller Finder is booksellerfinder.com. It lists all the library sales happening, but a lot of times those library sales are oversaturated with Amazon sellers. So that's a great tip. Look up library sales that aren't advertised on there, and there's going to be a lot less Amazon sellers coming in.
Yeah, and that's why I got into estate sales recently, because I just kind of had to for a while. You could just do library sales only, but that's not really the case anymore, at least where I'm in my area. So estate sales are great. I use estatesales.org to figure out what the estate sales are happening.
And how are you making sure, are you selling things other than books, or do you contact them ahead of time and see if they have books for sale? How are you making sure you're not wasting your time by going to a bunch of estate sales without books?
So you look at the pictures. You want to look at the pictures and take the time to do so. You also want to. I started looking at estate sales as early as like Wednesday. That's when I feel like midweek they start to be advertised. But a lot of people will say, "Oh, just check them once a week." But I disagree with that. For me, I disagree with that because there's estate sale companies that will, and just garage sales and yard sales and rummage sales that will post an ad like very last minute, like the day of or something. So I like to check Wednesday morning through Sunday morning. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every morning I just check. And then I found like good sales that way that I wouldn't have otherwise if I only checked like on Friday or whatever. And you also want to prioritize certain neighborhoods and cities and zip codes. If you like zip codes, like prioritizing just down to like the granular hyper locality of like, okay, this is a good zip code because people there are affluent. You want to look for like countercultural type of eclectic type of folks. So like San Francisco is a really good Bay Area. So San Francisco is great for estate sales. They have the best estate sales. There's just a lot of countercultural type of people. There's people with a lot of money. They're smaller, like they're mostly apartments, right? So it's smaller square footage for storage, and so people are trying to get rid of books all the time too. So that's good.
What are you finding is your acceptance rate at estate sales?
It feels like 1 out of 15 sales are really good, where you can find like 100 items in one sale. But mostly, I will walk away with at least like a small handful. And with estate sales, the quality is good enough where it's still kind of worth going to like the ones that you think would be pretty good or would have something, just because the quantity may not always be there, but the quality will, if you prioritize the right neighborhoods, look at the pictures, read the biographies of the owners, then you can find good quality. Like just on Friday, there was like 4 estate sales that looked really, really good. The pictures look good, but I got there and they just weren't very good. But I still with like 7 books, and I probably made like 100 to $200 dollars on just 7 books. Yeah.
Right. Are you doing any CDs, DVDs, other categories at all, or just mainly books?
Yeah. CDs and DVDs have been really good.
Same concept there. You're just looking. Are those frequently found at estate sales?
Oh yeah. And San Francisco is really nice for that, for the estate sales. I just find that. I don't know if you know of the store, Amoeba Music or Amoeba Records is like a really famous record shop, and there's one in Los Angeles and there's a couple in the Bay Area, really famous, and it's been there for a long time. So that's a good tip. If you are in an area where there's chains of record stores that have been around for a long time, that means that the secondhand market for stuff that's been proliferating over the decades are going to be just in your area. Yeah. So like a good example is Sacramento. Sacramento is like a gold mine for DVDs and CDs. And they had like a really big local chain called Dimples that was like the local Tower Records of their time. That it's no longer around anymore, but it's been around for decades, and they've had many locations. So there's just like a ton of secondhand used CDs and DVDs that you can find that are pretty valuable. I have a friend who's up there, helped him out get into selling that stuff on Amazon, and that's all he's doing. He used to do retail arbitrage, but when he started doing DVDs and CDs, he's like, yeah, I'm done with that retail arbitrage stuff. So
what did he like more?
What do you mean?
Well, like, what did he like more about CDs and DVDs than retail arbitrage?
I mean, the out-of-pocket costs, for is just way less. If you're thrifting for DVDs and CDs, it's way less than retail arbitrage, and the margins are outstanding. They're not as good as they used to be. It used to be like stupid easy before streaming. So there was a time where you could literally just, when I got started, for 1 year, 2 years, people have been doing it even longer than I have, and they probably made way more money than I did, but you could literally just pick up any Disney or British, anything Disney or British, and just any TV series. You wouldn't even have to like research or scan it or know anything about the market at all, and just send it into Amazon, and you can make a lot of money just doing that. Because streaming, before streaming, because the demand was good enough but that stuff could go for good money, and streaming happened, and then less people were needing to buy the DVDs for their content, so they could just stream that.
When would you say that change occurred?
I mean, whenever, I guess like 3-4 years ago, whenever streaming first happened, like, so when Disney Plus like was announced, I was like, oh crap, this is, I would text my friends, I was like, okay, get ready guys, this, at least the Disney DVDs are going to tank in prices, and that's exactly what happened. But you can still find good DVDs for sure. It's just not as easy. And I would look for this, like, focus on obscure stuff that isn't super common. So
on 10,000 sales, what do you think your profit is?
I make around, I would say, $7 to $8 per unit after all my costs, including taxes. So it would, I guess it's around like $6,000 to $7,000. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So like almost a 40-50% margin.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
What advice would you have for someone who's selling books? Maybe there are a few thousand in sales. They're intimidated by the idea of doing CDs and DVDs and video games. What key tips would you give them to make that leap and like not fuck it up, like not get too many DVDs or CDs that just are never going to sell, or maybe go after counterfeits? I don't think counterfeits are a huge issue. Like, I don't want to scare people, but like, what kind of tips would you have for a bookseller looking to start selling media items?
Well, I would say, I think when you're, you do have to be careful about selling new when you're starting out in that category. But I think once you have a history, then it's less of an issue. So because, of inauthenticity claims, but the only inauthenticity claims I've ever had, and it's happened only like twice, was just for used items. And I didn't even do anything about them. I just kind of waited them out, and it wasn't a big deal.
Was it CDs and DVDs, or was it books?
Yeah, for CDs and DVDs. Okay. For CDs and DVDs, yeah. And I would say, just make sure that you're. I mean, a lot of like the metrics. Well, okay, the biggest thing is sales rank is different for CDs, DVDs, and books. So the easiest way I think of it is like you just remove 1 0 from the sales rank. So if 1 million sales rank for books, you get the same sales velocity if it's 100,000 for CDs and DVDs. Well, I would say DVDs sell a little bit faster than both CDs and books. But yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. So, once you hit like above 100K for CDs and DVDs, then you start to go into the long tail range, and you want to take a higher profit for that. So, yeah. But I mean, if you're using the Scoutly or Scout IQ, you have the sales count, which, you can bypass sales rank, but I still pay attention to average sales rank, just because I guess having more numbers can make you more confident about your.
Are you noticing? I guess for Scout IQ it's called eScore. For Scoutly it's called 180 days with sales.
Yeah,
Are you noticing that that's pretty comprehensive with CDs and DVDs? Like, do most CDs and DVDs have a 180-day score or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember for a while, like when I was thrifting a lot, Scout IQ didn't have it.
Right.
They only had sales rank. They didn't have eScore for that.
Yeah, so. And I think they did have it more integrated with books,
Yeah.
Less so. I think CDs and DVDs came afterwards because it's a different database. But Scoutly had CD. They were around longer, so they have more access to that data. But whether or not that data was accurate to begin with is I don't know. But I mean, both have been around long enough where I think that those metrics are fairly reliable. But it's also just common sense. Like, well, then again, like certain things you'd be surprised that people pay any money, any amount of money for. You're like, wow, people are paying this much for that. So, really important tip if you're just new in general, not just with DVDs and CDs, but also books, is like don't ignore the amount of offers that you're competing against, both used and new, because the more offers that are competing on this listing, the more likely it's gonna have downward pricing pressure. So you want to protect your margins and your profit. So just make sure that there's not more than it depends on sales rank. So the better the sales rank in each score, the more competing offers you can kind of compete against, just because there's enough demand to keep the pricing up.
Did you update your triggers to reflect that?
I haven't even looked at my triggers in a long time, to be honest with you. Just because I just kind of look and I guess it would speed things up. Because I'm not a brute force scanner. I probably should and start doing that because I think I would probably find more stuff. But for me, I don't know. I just find it to be tedious to do that.
So what's your strategy? If you're not a brute force scanner, then what is your kind of method?
Yeah, I mean, it comes with experience, but I basically the idea is like if I see something, a title for a book or DVD, you can just scan the spines and just be like, that looks weird or interesting.
Yeah,
looks like this. Sounds like it would be cool to have. I guess
yellow used.
It's one of those things that you don't really. It's hard to explain unless.
Yeah. For me,
you know what I mean?
I look for like the yellow used stickers for like textbooks. Any textbooks are good. I even feel the books. Like if the books feel really velvety and soft, they're usually more profitable.
Even if it's for fiction, that's what I do too. People skip out on the fiction section, but that's the easy way to like find the good fiction.
Do you ever mess with selling books as new?
No, I don't do that. I've been curious to see if you could. I think you would be fine selling audiobooks as new.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if
booksellers, they're like not super public about it, but they sell books as new. So they're actually the whole palette dedicated to pristine condition books. Right. And they've been doing this for years. Obviously, if you're listening and you're brand new starting out, somebody out
don't do that.
Don't an ex-library book and they're gonna be like, Roman said you can sell books as new, and now I'm suspended. But I do think it's an interesting concept because fiction is not very profitable, even though it's the most read category. Right. It's definitely the most read category. Like you can tell if books are read or not by just looking at them. In the mass market books, those girls read the fuck out of those books. But then when it comes to a textbook, pristine condition, maybe the access code scratched out, but it's never been read before. So like the highest demand books aren't even that profitable on Amazon because the prices are so low. But if you're able to like get a source that has them truly in brand new condition and they're cheap. Like one time I was in Chicago and I picked up a bunch of Christian fiction books and they were all brand new condition, never been read before. And I was like, I'm selling these as new because I know they have no writing or anything in them. And they all sold so fast and all the used prices were like $7. So the used, if I sold it used, back then you could make a little bit of money on a $7 book, but I was paying $2 to $3 per book. Yeah. But instead I sold them for 15 plus. And with FBA, there's no competition. And so they sold way faster. And I made like, I don't even know how much I made, but probably 3,000 or 4,000. I just filled up my Corolla, drove back to Nashville with a bunch of Christian fiction. And
oh, nice.
So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could, sell more stuff as new.
Yeah, but, it is risky.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, considering the prices that you can pay for third thing in state sales, it's not really that big deal that you're missing out on that, in my opinion. So, So
let's talk a little bit about your pricing strategy and how you're able to squeeze a little bit more profit out. Shameless go-to lister plug. Go-to lister is my software. We talked a little bit about that before the podcast. You said the reason why you use go-to lister, even though you have turbo lister with Scoutly, is because of the smart pricing. Do you want to talk a little bit about your strategy and what success you've had pricing your items higher?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you can price your items higher and in a way where you're still sure you would make the sale, then you're gonna make more money than you would otherwise. It's
what types of items are you pricing higher, and when do you know, hey, this is like a really good opportunity to squeeze out an extra 20-30%?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no competing FBA listings, if I think the demand is good enough to support that too. But even if the demand is low, and when I look at Keepa, and if you don't know what Keepa is, it's like a historical pricing graph that tells you, well, it gives you an idea of what an item has sold before. So if I look at the Keepa graph and it says, okay, this book, CD, DVD that has no competing offers. Go-to listers, smart pricing, price it at like $20, let's say. But then I look at Keepa, and it says, this sold for $60 before, and at least one or two times, whatever. Then I'll be like, all right, let's put it at 60 and see what happens.
Does a purple notification, does that help you out a lot?
It does help me out. Sometimes I miss it if I'm just moving kind of fast. So but for the most part it's there. I just have to make sure that I scroll and take a look at it.
I don't know if you ever do this, but when I sourced, I would put no FBA products in a separate box. So when I got home, I could see, these don't have FBA offers. I should price them higher.
Yeah. I do that. So I also, here's a good tip is I carry around like a grease pencil or a China marker. It's just like a wax like pencil. So you can rub it off, and their stores use this, I'm pretty sure, marks their stuff. Right. And you can just rub it off with your finger. Yeah. And I'll write down notes like that. Like, okay, this is something I'm going to sell for merchant fulfilled because of capacity limits. I have to, some of my long tail stuff I sell merchant fulfilled. And then I'll put in like a price, like, okay, price it at this amount. So I do that. But with just a slightly different angle. And I'll even put the condition for my stuff while I'm sourcing, so that when I get home, it's already conditioned. I don't have to like check the condition while I'm on listing. And I just put them in like, okay, V for very good, good, G for good, A for acceptable, and just put them.
All right, wait, so you're writing that on each book, or you have separate boxes for it?
I write with a grease pencil on each book.
Nice.
And then while I'm listing, I can just rub it off with my finger, or
That's
with
clutch. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I mean, I posted on that tip on some groups before, and some people are like, "Oh, that's such a tacky thing to do." I'm like, "It's fine. You can rub it off with you. It's like it's not a big deal." I guess they just don't like the idea that like you would mark a customer's like item. But
but I mean, come on. There's like I leave Goodwill stickers on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we sell X library books. Like, who gives a shit? Especially if you can just wipe it off.
Yeah, it's fine. So I do that, and that saves like when you have like a couple hundred of items that you're listing. That saves you like a pretty good amount.
Yeah, and then you don't want to miss certain things. And so when I used to source, I would have a box with no FBA offers, and then I would have a box that has FBA competition. But the box with no FBA offers, I would list separately because none of the listing softwares at the time told me that there was no FBA offers. But that's why we programmed Go-To Lister to turn purple when you list a book with no FBA offers. And then what you can do, like for example, this book has no FBA offers. You can open it up, And then I just look at the Keepa and I see like, what's the most this book ever sold for? Like, what's a reasonable price to price this at? And then I price it, a little bit higher. So like we could look at this. This is a really slow mover, but it's
but it's selling for like a couple thousand. So
yeah, it sold for $3,200 before. So you could price this one a little bit higher. I sold this for $2,000 back in the day.
Yeah,
but you can just price it, just a little bit higher because if you're the only. I don't recommend pricing like super long tail books higher, but if you get this purple notification on any books like under 1 million sales rank,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can definitely smart pricing with GoToList. If you guys use smart pricing, you can turn it on in your settings here. It automatically prices books within these sales rank ranges a little bit higher. So between 1 and 125,000 prices at FBA slot 4. So, and then if it has no FBA offers, it prices it 20% higher than the current low price. But I think manually pricing those books can make you so much more money. That's why we turn it purple for you. And then we also have another notification that turns orange. So I don't know if you've seen this one before, but it's
zero offers.
Yeah, zero off. That's clutch right there. My last podcast guest was saying sometimes he'll find DVDs like 500K sales rank, but they sell frequently, but they just haven't sold in a while because there's no offers.
No offers, yeah.
So that's another opportunity to price a little bit higher.
So one feature request would be if you could have like a filter, so that it will just like you click a toggle and it'll only show you those.
That'll be clutch.
Those offers. And that would be nice if there was like a notification that pops up before you send the batch.
Yeah.
So that it'll be like, oh hey, you have some listings that have zero offers or whatever. Just verify that they're what you want them to be at.
Yeah, and I think I also want to start putting no FBA in the SKU. Give you guys the option. No FBA. It'll say no FBA, and then it'll be dash the price you listed it for. And then I also want to have. You ever play like Nazi Zombies?
No, I don't know. Is that a game? Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like, if you get headshots and shit, like it puts like plus $20 or plus 20 points, plus 40 points. Like have that in the bottom left to go to lister where it's like plus $40 profit, plus $30 profit. But like the real cool thing would be like after it sells, you can go into your orders and see, oh, you sold this for an extra $20 when the low price at the time was $10. You sold it for $30 because you use smart pricing. Or because you manually priced your item higher. That way you can kind of like track, oh, am I actually getting more for because we don't really have like a way to like tell you. And so if we put no FBA in the SKU and then allowed you to get full circle, like, oh, what do you actually sell it for? Then it could you could at least learn. And then as time goes on, like maybe we could do something cool, like an AI feature where it's like, it looks at historical data and based on your sales history and other GoToLister sales history, it can price your item. Then we'd be like a repricer at that point. But I think Amazon softwares will go that way in the future. We'll have like some type of AI that learns based on how your account performs, how much higher can you price prime offers for when there's no prime offers, like little things like that. I think it's going to get a lot better as years go on with all these softwares. Yeah.
And also I think Amazon is probably getting to the point where they need to worry more about profitability than just growth. Right now,
Well, I mean, these recent fee changes. What's your opinion on those?
I mean, they're always gonna happen. So
have you looked into them in depth? Have you looked at what they are?
No, I haven't done that yet. That's on the to-do list.
Well, I can briefly explain them. So they lowered the FBA fee, which you know what that is, but for people listening, it's like the fee for putting your book in a box, shipping to the customer. They lowered that by 20 cents for books.
Oh, that's good.
They introduced a low inventory fee. So if you don't have a 28-day supply of your SKU, they're going to charge you anywhere from books from 89 cents to 97 cents, depending on the size.
Oh, wow.
But that's only for books that you do not have a 28-day supply of. So books that are
kind of
basically, from what I gathered, any book with an E-score lower than 76 does not get hit with this fee. They give an example. They said if the item only sells 3 times a week, then the 28-day supply is 1 unit, and so you won't get charged the fee. So if your book has an e-score less than 76, you're never going to get charged a fee or whatever the math. I think 72 would be the math because that's 12 times a month times 6. So I think a lot of books are going to be opted out of the low inventory fee, but who knows? Maybe 10 to 50% of your inventory is going to get hit with this extra 89 cents to $1 fee, which would be significant.
Yeah.
So certainly some of our items will, but I think booksellers are actually safe from that. It seems like in the past, Amazon's actually discouraged booksellers to send items FBA. This new fee change is encouraging wholesalers and other categories to send more products FBA. People who sell other categories, they want you to stay in stock on the fastest moving, most profitable items. And so that's why they're introducing a low inventory fee, which is brand new. That's another one. There's an inbound placement fee. So you're familiar with, you used to be able to pay to have all your items go to one prep center.
Well, you can still do that, right?
You still can, but they kind of like, they now they call it the premium service.
Okay.
And I'm sure they raised the prices on it. But now they have the discounted service, which is the way we've always done it, which is dealing with split shipments like normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the discounted service seems like it might charge you fees on certain items just because they want to. They say for inbound items, there's going to be a reduced fee, whereas before there was no fee. So what does a reduced fee mean? So I think they're introducing some type of inbound shipping fee. So if you want to not pay inbound shipping, extra fees, definitely like do box contents of some sort. So if you're using GoToLister, be sure to do box contents. That way you're not paying Amazon to send all your items to one place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are like the main fees. There's actually reduced storage fees too. So that's good for booksellers, like 9 cents for every cubic foot. These changes aren't terrible in my eyes, but if that $1 low inventory fee gets hit on a lot of books, that could suck. So, but I don't see that happening because every fee change in the past with Amazon has been to, in my eyes, discourage sending crappy items to Amazon. They don't want booksellers to send a bunch of shit to FBA.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to charge us those fees as much as we think they are.
Yeah, that I would agree with that. With that coupled with capacity limits, I think you're just going to see. I think the prices will actually end up going higher. Because people are just being forced to be more intelligent about what they send in, which means that the quality of something they send in terms of like pricing, higher prices for sellers, it will turn it more into like, I guess, a profitable marketplace for sellers, in my opinion. It just kind of weeds out the chaff.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think so too. I think we used to get a bunch of bulk booksellers who just loaded up FBA. They're like, fuck it, 25-cent removal fees, long-term storage fees aren't that much. I can make profit on a book, or I can break even on a book selling for $6. But those days are gone. So a lot of those bulk guys are kind of like either going out of business or they completely changed the way they're operating. They do a lot more merchant fulfilled, cross-listing on different platforms, stuff like that. So,
yeah, and what's gonna say? Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens to like some of the really mega sellers, like the Notorious Jensen, whatever Jensen books. Like what? I don't know like are they downsizing, or I don't know if they're going out of business because they're just picking up where they can stay in business, whatever. But like the moment that they start like raising their prices up, that's gonna be a good thing. That's gonna be great for the entire market, you know. And I do think that will probably happen, I don't know, relatively soon, just because of where I think the direction that Amazon is going. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
What's your goal next year? Do you have a sales goal? Have you thought about 2024 profit goals or any type of Amazon related goals?
I do think that DVDs and I guess CDs too, but DVDs in particular are gonna the prices are gonna go up again and become more seller's market because like Best Buy is no longer selling DVDs, and Ingram Entertainment, the biggest distributor. Yeah, they're not going to distribute disc media anymore. They're their biggest distributor, which basically means like DVDs and CDs are going to be decommoditized, right? And I guess the final nail in the coffin would be like when Target and Walmart in particular would be huge if and like
didn't Best Buy just stop selling DVDs?
That's right. Yeah, Best Buy. So once like all of the big retailers, right, including Walmart and Target, that stop selling, I mean, I'm sure they're downsizing and only selling it in rural areas. Definitely for Walmart. I think DVDs and CDs are gonna top really hard, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But I'm just kind of like waiting the wings, waiting for that to happen, and keeping my eye on what's in demand. And
dude, it blows my mind people even buy CDs and DVDs.
Yeah, I mean,
I've sold probably maybe 100,000 units, maybe not that much, but I've sold a lot of CDs, and I'm like, who's buying these?
Yeah, the nerds and collectors,
Is it like the boomers buying them? Like when they all die, is it gonna like be over?
I don't. So I think a lot of I think they're the main buyers, but I do think there's just also. I think young people. I see young people buy at record shops because I also source at record shops, and I see young people buy,
really
CDs too.
Yeah,
and I think it's just because like if you
it's something tangible you can have, it's different than having like a digital version. And I think that's where NFTs are trying to like replicate that feel, but there's nothing like a used book or physical CD. It feels like you like are respecting the artist by having it. You can show it off to your friends and stuff too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's the same dynamic with like ebooks, right? Everyone thought that ebooks would put bookstores out of business and no one would buy real books anymore. But all it did was it just made people appreciate real books even more. And bookstores ended up actually like staying in business or even like thriving. So it was that, and I think that's basically going to apply to physical media. And like my sister was talking about this, like I had like an Apple TV account and something with her account got hacked or something, and so somehow she lost all her like library of digital stuff that she bought of digital content. And she's like, man, if I just had the DVD, like this wouldn't be a problem, right? So she was just, I was having this conversation with her. She's like, yeah, I think you're right. I think DVDs are going to start coming back again, and like I actually think that young people are going to be a pretty big mover in terms of stuff and demand, just because like if you think about it, if you grew up using streaming services, right, to consume music and movies and whatever, and then you just for the first time you got like a DVD and you just popped in a player and it spits out like this movie or content that you really enjoy. It's a really big novelty, right? So that could automatically just turn you like
Gen Z's gonna start buying VHS tapes
to a collector. I don't know about VHS, but I mean DVDs and CDs. I definitely think that that's why I see people in stores, young people in stores buying this stuff. So it's a fun collector like thing. And when you have disposable income, you spend it on like silly stuff all the time. So yeah,
for sure. Last question, and then we'll get out of here. What do you think is like a blueprint for a complete beginner who's just getting started in 2023, 2024 to build a profitable Amazon business selling used books, CDs, and DVDs? Like, what is your strategy? Like, would you do estate sales, library? Like, what is like a blueprint that you think like if you do this, you're guaranteed success?
I would say I mean the first thing you want to do is you just got to get a feel for like what you can actually expect to get from your local market. And first of all, define like how much time you're willing to spend in this business. So let's say you have like 10 hours a week to spare. That's going to define how far you can drive and stuff like that. So working with those within those parameters, figure out like how many units you can get that you can make a minimum amount of profit on. So, and then you have to define like, okay, what's my minimum amount of profit? When you're starting out, like profit is profit. Like when I started out, if it made me like $3, I would just take it, right? But then after 3 months, it was like, okay, I need to be more picky about, my profit markets here. But yeah, when you're starting out, you just got to figure out like, how many items can I get per hour that meet my profit targets, right? So for me, I can expect to get 10 to 15 units an hour that meet my sourcing criteria, and so that defines like my schedule for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So once you figure that out and how that fits in with your life schedule, because I think a lot of people are still working full-time jobs, and they have family and stuff like that. Figure that out, and then once you start making some money, and you can start to figure out how you can arrange your schedule to then scale more into the book business and the media business. But you need like real numbers first to figure out like what a plan is for what it would take for you to start moving into a more full-time income, or just stick with making you can definitely make an extra like 1 or 3 grand fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not everyone, because it's highly dependent on your local market, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for the most part, most people can make that extra amount of money and do pretty well. But if you want to do a full-time income, it's important to just figure out like, what's my profit target per unit and how many units can I expect to get per hour based on my local market, secondhand marketplace. So
Love it. Great advice. Track your numbers, track your scans, track how many items you're finding, track how much profit you're finding. And don't forget, guys, this podcast is made possible by GoToLister, the fastest listing software on the planet. You can go to GoToLister.com and get a free trial today.
The number one thing I love about it most is it helps me list and process my items that much faster. And as you know, if you want to grow your Amazon business, speed is the name of the game. If you're thinking about selling on Amazon, or you're already selling and you want to be able to grow your business quicker, definitely check out GoToLister. Appreciate you, Avery, for creating the software, and it's really helping me grow my business. Much love.
Thanks for coming on, man. And can they tag you in the Facebook groups if they have questions or anything? I know you're active in basically probably all of them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't guarantee that I'll like reply to every single message right away, but yeah, I mean, if you got a few questions, I'll just see if I can.
I've seen you in there for years, man. It's a pleasure to finally talk to you. And thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you much.
Peace.
Bye.